Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 2v2 for you guys today. I'm playing with Ignore the Smoke and our opponents are Milamia and CCP21. So we are moving forward. I'm going to be going toward Boris and Elena. So most of my points headed toward the Elena Feder split. Some of them headed toward Boris, just trying to hold on that side. So a couple light infantry units, a couple of Droog ATGM vehicles. I've been getting some good use out of them recently. We'll have to see if they perform well now. And Smoke is headed up towards center, toward the far side of Boris, and then he's going to be trying to push through the end of center, wrap around toward Dmitry, and get good map control. And, well, our opponents were definitely not quite on the same sort of plan as we were, because if we take a look, they're 1-1 Feder and Boris, which means that at the start anyway, they are going to have a lot of force superiority. I did lose an L17K trying to dive a Gazelle, and this was brutal, so I was a little bit too predictable, and we have HE artillery pounding in. I mean, I lose Proletary, I lose a Droog team here in a second, which is just going to be brutal, and yeah, I mean, this was rough. There was a lot of points there that got wrecked that shouldn't have been, and we're trying to secure that town. But we do have a Sava shooting in. It does finally get that scout helicopter, and we're moving around trying to use this little highway between the woods to get a forward position here, even if I can't get one through the woods themselves. We do have Granicieri up on the high ground, a CV headed toward Elena as well, and a T-55 just holding as the Granicieri get into their town. So at this point, I was sitting there going, okay, well, that kind of sucks. And then if we look up here, there's quad stacks of infantry, there's Navy SEALs, there's SMAW. My ally Smoke's infantry is going to get absolutely chewed through by all of this support, even if he can secure the town at all. But for right now, we are unopposed in center, so we're pushing things along on that end, and a B5 bomber is coming in for Smoke, so we'll have to see where it goes and how much it does. As always, we'll do a little bit of a peek here. Quad stack of US Marines, Navy SEALs, and it looks like we're going back toward the Chaparrals and the LVTPs. Those guys, of course, 15 points apiece, and one of the Chaparrals does go down, the other one very injured. I mean, that's pretty nice, but he did lose the B5. It's not exactly the best situation for us there, but Droog teams are going to be opening up and taking out these cheap KPZs, 20 points apiece, and of course they do not have the armor to stand up to a Droog missile. It always kind of amuses me that Droog in Russian means friend, and these guys are the opposite of friendly, but such is life. We also do have a tank shooting in that's going to be an M84AN, a little bit hard to see there. Scout tank shooting in at these other KPZs, and just, I don't know, I was surprised that one of them survived that first shot. Second shot is, of course, a miss, because it always is. Why would I expect anything else? But, I don't know, I didn't sense a lot of forward motion from my opponent here. And that was interesting, because he definitely had the better situation off the start. But if he's not going to push, then I will, so we are going to start sneaking some things forward. Note M60P. BVP is on the side, the T-55A do spot Fallschirmjäger and are going to be shooting in there. These guys, I mean, Fallschirmjäger 90, very expensive, very high quality infantry, and not the sort of things you want getting shot from afar. There is a Milan F2 team that we do have to be worried about, but, I mean, our own are just doing such great work there. And we're going to be also moving up a little bit on the upper highway, so I thought, okay, if he has his artillery pounding in, and I had expected a second volley by now, I think it was kind of forgotten, which is not really the best thing. Should have had a second volley, should have probably had a third volley soon on the way, and that would have been really brutal. So I still have a lot of stuff here in this section of woods, but we are able to get nice shots on the Fallschirmjäger. Milan team is shooting in, but I don't know, swing and a miss there, fortunate for me. But he'll probably get the second one. It's just an OM60P though, it's a 5-point transport. I really don't care if it goes down, and wasting those F2s, that seems worth it. So M84AN's moving forward. This is risky, but I'm trying to get that tank shot, and we actually take him out with the OM60P on the high ground, while Proletary are moving forward, and I have Proletary 90 threading through the woods. We have also secured the lower part of the town. So this is something I do want to talk about briefly. Look at all of this investment. Navy SEALs, US Marines, I mean, double stacked Navy SEALs on either side, 70 points on either side, 120 points of US Marines, and yeah, they'll hold this center town in Boris very well, but they have very little force projection, which means we can just go around them. There's pretty much nothing for our opponents up here in Dmitry. They can see the MI8, but with center and Dmitry relatively secured, we're going to be taking out a +4 in no time, even if I fight to a stalemate in Elena Feder. So that's pretty nice, and Smoke is winning us the game by doing that. So even if his Bochung-Su get mercilessly shredded by Navy SEALs, it's not the end of the world, so long as we don't get completely pushed through in Boris. But my T-55s are going forward. We have a Mirage 3C. Second time I've seen that plane recently. I'm still not impressed by it. It's just fodder for an L-19, and look at the effect. Right, so the napalm goes down, it gets a single kill on Proletary. It does force them out into the woods, but they're just 15 points to begin with, which, I mean, it's no 5-point militia, but it's not exactly the most expensive option known to man. So, Proletarian 90 are moving forward, just threading their way through the trees. T55 also moving up. The Cassiopes were a little bit worrisome, because I didn't really have any AA that far forward, but the M84AN and Proletary push through the center is getting us a little bit of spot on that town. Also, I do have an M60P moving up. We're going to be pushing up here shortly. I want the T55 in these woods overlooking the top, just trying to cut them off there. But as the cannon opens up on my M60P, just this cheap little decoy, the Sava is going to be returning fire and taking that guy down. So one shot, one kill, second one for good measure, just because I guess it aims and shoots faster than the first missile did collide. And you can see, I think the reason the the artillery hadn't come in again was just stress. And I think Milamia, while not a new player, was certainly not on the more experienced end and was just having trouble dealing with the front and the that farther back aspect. A lot of plane buys as well, and I've been tricked into doing this before too. When you start losing on the ground, the answer is usually on the ground, not in the air. Because you put a couple hundred points into planes, you put a couple hundred points into helicopters. The helicopters can't push on their own. They're going to get taken out by AA pieces at really good cost, right? So the Sava can sit there all day, 10 missiles, 2,800 meter range. There's nothing a couple Cassiopes can do against him. In the meantime, Flak Panzer Gepard's no longer protected, Commandos Para getting overwhelmed by sheer volume of fire, so Proletary, M84, and the OT-60Ps forcing retreat there, and now we have the T-55 around the side, trying to get some work done as Command Infantry in the town get isolated and taken out. So, I mean, 25-point tank, probably the most valuable kill I've gotten with him in a long time, even counting other elite infantry, things like that. And Feder is no longer capped, we're taking out a +1, and we do have a CV headed towards center, as my ally here is just, I mean, he's secured center, he's secured Dmitry, holding there, not the densest forces, just because there's so much area, but still, it's good work. And yeah, this is exactly what I said. 2 helicopter kills in no time at all off the Sava was a bunch of wasted points. Proletary 90 have gotten through and take down an AMX RCSB. Beautiful shot there. Of course, they are spotted, but we also did capture the FOB, which is kind of hilarious. So they can actually resupply themselves, which is nice. So the Brennis buy is good here. Let's take a look at Milamia's perspective. Brennis, Chasseurs, AMX. Should probably have the Chasseurs in front of the Brennis, allow them to take targeting priority first. It would have dodged that Matliuka missile. Of course, the Matliuka missed anyway. And then we need more recon. So AMX-10 RC in the middle of the woods isn't going to spot that well. Most of this is coming from the Commandos Para, who are going to be moving back, and the second they do, getting shot at. So again, this tank up on the high ground, in a pretty good position, is going to be merciless to any infantry crossing that way. So 3 kills off the first shot, only 1 more required to get the kill. The Brennis did do okay. We did lose a couple of things here. It looks like that is one of the cheaper T-55s, and that's not really surprising. He also did take out the Vidra that I had back there. But it's a temporary success. So we have Proletary moving up, Graniciari, more Proletary here at an unexpected angle, more than likely. And yeah, they get shot and taken out. But, I mean, if they can get close, and they can get a couple shots on, they'll screen out for the stuff that I have moving forward on this side. So, artillery coming in right in between the 2 towns is a little weird. A couple good kills on Proletary still, so I do need a resupply vehicle there. But now the Graniciari are going to be moving up, scout infantry trying to project that vision forward and forward and forward. And you can see we have eyes on some of his reinforcements. So this, I think, was another tank. Let's take a look. Oh no, VTT. The Brennis has been killed by the pushed up Proletary and the supporting Vidras, Proletary 90 as well. So that worked out pretty well. And then if we look on the far side, there is some action now, CCP 21 going into Dmitry a little bit. There's a Kiowa. I mean, this is what you don't want to be doing, right? You don't want to be looking at what should be your own zone this late in the game with that expensive of a plane. So 15D Eagle is evac Winchester. Let's see what sort of success you can get. And yeah, those Bochung-Su do suffer, so that's pretty nice. Brutal bombing run there. But I don't know if that'll be enough to force smoke completely out of that zone, and I'm just scooching forward 1 inch at a time. So Graniciari, Proletary, we do see a Milan team. T-55, just beautiful positioning from him, I gotta say. I mean, even if it was the 110-point M84AN, he would have struggled to perform better than just that little 25-point tank. So very proud, really good usage of this guy. I mean, patting myself on the back there a little bit, but come on, I mean, that was just beautiful to watch. And unfortunately, he is taken out by one of those really good 40-point scout tanks off the French side. I really hate those things. They're so good. And I don't really play a lot of France. I mean, some. I've put up a couple of French games, but maybe we'll get back to it, just because I want to do unto others as has been done unto me, which I think is a little bit backwards there. I'm not sure that's the exact commandment, but we do what we can. Chaparrals and Pivads moving up this way, a little bit uncertain as to why. There was really no helicopter or plane threat over that far. Could just be trying to keep them safe from an expected push this side, and we do have a TO-55 triple stack of these guys, and this is hilarious. 35 points each. If we take a look now at the town, there's US Marines, there's Navy SEALs, 60 men here, 20 men here, 10 small, 20 Navy SEALs, all of these guys, and let's see what the T-55s can do when they start to open up. We'll look back over there. In the meantime, a bit of a fight here, and a nice defensive position from Milamia, trying to salvage what he can and keep his home zone from getting pushed into, and it worked, right? So I lost Proletary. I'm trying to keep these guys alive as a forward element, while the rest of my units move up, and we were being pretty slow. I did buy another CV for Feder just to try and get the +3 up to a +4, and now engaging in the woods is a little bit risky, so Fallschirmjäger getting killed, but spotting for Martyrs and for Vabs is pretty nice, and my Proletary have to move up to handle that and the Martyr 1, or we're going to have a really rough time. Yeah, Pivads and Chaparrals getting shot by a Type 59B is not what you want, so one of the Pivads goes down, see if you can get the 70-point Chaparral kill, not quite. So nice response there from CCP-21, just getting him out of the way. But my Proletary 90 have done their work, and fighting Commandos Para in the woods is going to be pretty nice. And these KPZs, I mean, they're nice fire support, don't get me wrong, but they shouldn't be the tip of the spear, and they're not going to have the armored stand-up to close combat against Proletary 90, one of my favorite units in the entire game, just because of that wonderful anti-tank weapon and just the wonderful vehicles that they can come in on. So Invidra's used all his ammunition, and he used it very, very well. So we have secured the forward woods here. Graniciari, Proletary. Here's the TD-55s, though. Look at all that napalm, and look at the response. So 58 men, 2 died, and then they're just going to move. I mean, they're trying to move. They switched town positions, I think. Small shooting in. Yeah, I mean, I've seen these guys get good use in the forests, but they're just not caring. The TD-55 shot, and they're just like, okay, yeah, keep it going. Why not? Who cares? F-15D Eagle is going to be getting a nice bombing run and denying my Droogs, who actually did get some pretty nice kills. We took out both of the howitzers for the enemy team with those Droogs, just pushing them up and forward. Basically, cavalry ATGM vehicles, because why not? But they can't handle Casiopes, and that's going to be the end of their little story. And yeah, here's more fire from the TD-55s. Let's take a look. Yeah, no joy. The Navy SEALs are already out of the way, the Marines are out of the way, the small were killed by other things like the Type 59 1Bs, so not a lot of luck there. And this is going to be basically all she wrote. We spent another minute or two just doing lots of bombing runs, and most of the interesting part I think was a little bit earlier, but we're going to just speed through here to show you guys the kills and deaths and any units that performed well. I know people love seeing those screens, so we'll get to it here in just a second, as we're going to have CCP, I think he surrenders in just a second as the Bochung Su move forward, and yep, that's going to be the surrender, and that's the game. So, let's take a look. Kills 2815 to 1809, and CCP did a pretty nice job of fighting against Ignore the Smoke. 865 kills, 970 losses for Smoke. But he had the hard job of trying to do that entire front and fight somebody as well. So that he was probably fighting at a disadvantage most times when he actually engaged with CCP, whilst CCP was fighting out of that single town. So if it was destruction, that would have been a losing bit for us, but it's not. It's Conquest. You got to play the map mode. So you got to play the mode, you got to play the map, not just the center of a single town. I did have 1950, 840, so felt pretty good about that. And let's see, units that did well. M84AN did some pretty nice work. No big value kills, but there weren't really any big tanks until later on either, so not too upset there. Droog teams got a couple of 20-point vehicles. Let's see, Proletary 90, these guys were amazing. They were the ones that moved forward, captured that fob. Commandos Para, Vab T2013, Flux Milan, Fallschirmjäger, Flux Milan. Couldn't ask for a better kill list off those guys in any sort of reasonable game. L15Ms are bombers, I think, and we got a Kiowa, which is funny, and also a couple of helicopters in the center. This was me supporting Smoke. I did lose both the bombers, but I mean, getting rid of a resupply vehicle that expensive is pretty nice. The Super Stallion is a big, huge resupply vehicle there. And that's going to be all we've got, so thank you guys for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.